Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Ghost Stories, St. Patrick's Day Stories, Ghost Stories. I know what you're thinking. This looks like a weak sauce attempt to shoehorn in another ghost story show off the back of a public holiday. Yeah, it is. Well, it's a public holiday in Ireland, I think. But yes, I think I've got the beer sneezes. Excuse me. Oh, the beer sneezes. I haven't even had a beer yet. I can get away with it because I have family in Ireland, the McCarthys of Cork. So I don't need an excuse. I don't need your permission. So what are we reading? I've managed to find some Irish ghost stories tonight, which looks to be absolutely brilliant. What are we drinking? Well, Irish ghost stories, St. Patrick's Day. Of course, we are going to be having some Guinness. I have not had a can of Guinness. Whoops, Daisy, and it's fizzing away here so badly that I don't think I am going to have a can of Guinness tonight. There we go. I have not had a can of Guinness. I haven't had a Guinness for ages, actually. Just trying to think, when was the last time I had a Guinness? Oh, actually, no, tell a lie. I think I had one. Last year when I was doing an event in Glastonbury, and I may have had one when I was at Telford last year. So yeah, perhaps in the last year, but it has been a while. I used to drink this all the time. It was one of my favourite drinks. And oh my goodness me, we haven't even got round to reading a ghost story yet. And already we have a dead soldier. So here we go. That's the Guinness. What is the proof on that? 4.1%. It's not that bad. So there we go. Dead soldier and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
And what are we washing it down with? Well, I did think about getting some Irish whiskey, but I couldn't find any in Lidl. But what I did find in Aldi, rather, dearie me, I do have a dry throat tonight, was this: the Ballycastle mini chocolate eggs flavour country cream. And it says produced in Northern Ireland. So I thought, close enough for government work. So let's, there we go. Smells lovely. I really should have got some Irish whiskey, but this will do. This will be absolutely splendid. So without further ado, this is the book we're going to be reading from tonight, Haunted Castles of Britain and Ireland. That was the bit that got me. Let's try it again. Banshees, Boggarts, and Brides of the Night. They took her lightly back between the night and morrow. They thought that she was fast asleep, but she was dead with sorrow. They have kept her ever since, deep within the lake, on a bed of flag leaves, watching till she wake. And that's from The Fairies by William Allington, who was born in 1824 and died in 1889. Right, Ireland. There are more castles in Ireland than in the whole of Wales, England, and Scotland. Between the late 1100s and the early 1700s, over 3,000 castles were constructed there. Yet the majority were not built by the Irish themselves. As a result, the sad remnants and derelict piles that litter the landscape, both in the north and south of the country, are often regarded as symbols of subjugation, which is exactly what they were intended to be. Most stand derelict in the middle of fields. Others balance precariously on the edges of cliffs or are squeezed between or even incorporated into later buildings. Quite a lot were burnt down in the early 1920s during the Irish struggle for independence. Some have undergone tasteful restoration in recent years, while others have been embellished, modernized, and altered beyond recognition. The Irish gift for storytelling has imbued many of the foreign-built castles with a rich array of phantoms, and it is a truly wonderful experience to be regaled with the tales of the ghosts that wander the castles of Ireland. So let's start with Castle Donovan, Drimoleague, County Cork. The Pathetic Drip. That's a bit harsh on Nigel Farage, but there we go. Nothing save a hollow, crumbling shell now survives of what was once the principal seat of the O'Donovan clan. The castle was built in 1560 and stands upon a solid rocky foundation. There is a constant drip of water from the ceiling of the ground floor chamber. Come winter or summer, rain or shine, the steady trickle continues unabated, and has done so for as long as anyone can remember. It is known as the Brawn Sincere, and tradition says that it is caused by an event that took place in the long vanished rooms above. The then Lord of Castle Donovan is reputed to have owed money to a lady named Dorothy Ford. With her family pressing for repayment, his lordship invited her to his castle to discuss the debt. No sooner had she set foot in the upper chamber than she was seized by assembled members of the O'Donovan clan and hanged from one of the beams. Ever since, so the legend goes, her teardrops have fallen as a constant drip, a poignant reminder of the brutal act by which her family were deprived of their rightful dues. We'll do the pictures at the end of the stories, actually. But we're starting off in County Cork, which is, like I say, that's where my maternal family originate from. Right, let's have a beer and a bump, shall we? So, in the magnificent Rush beer glass. Oh, let's try that again. Try that again. In the magnificent Rush beer glass, a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day. So, cheers, me beers. I think we should probably read a bit what it says about Guinness. Brewed in Ireland by Guinness & Co. Company, St. James Gate, Dublin. Guinness Co. brewed in Dublin, Ireland. St. James Gate. No, it doesn't give any story behind this. 154 calories per can. That's not too bad, actually. But I love Guinness. And what are we? Well, we're going to have the Ballycastle limited edition mini chocolate eggs flavor country cream, and it just says a blend of double cream, alcohol, and flavorings. And what are we written? This is 40%. Oh, 12%. Oh, that's not really strong. It's probably very high in calories, but slange me for everybody. Very nice. Very, very tasty. Ballynacarriga Castle near Dunmanway, County Cork. Foul-smelling Fuka. PHOOK. The Irish name for this four-story tower is Beal na Carriage, meaning mouth or passage of rock. It is perched upon a rocky prominence overlooking the Ballynacarriga Loch and can be visited by obtaining the key from the nearby village pub. An unusual feature of its crumbling interior is the number of important stone carvings, mostly of a religious nature, that can be seen around the walls of what was the third floor. On one window arch is a depiction of Christ on the cross between two thieves, and nearby are carved a crown of thorns, a hammer, and a heart pierced with two swords. Another window contains the initials RMCC together with the date 1585. These are believed to be the initials of Randall Merlihy, and his wife Catherine Cullinane, and the date when the building was erected. Opposite is the carved figure of a woman with 5 roses, which local tradition claims represents Catherine Cullinane and her 5 children, but which is more likely to depict the Blessed Virgin. The roof and parapets of the castle were long ago removed by a garrison of Cromwellian troops who had occupied the fortress for a time and who, as was their custom, took down the overhanging parapets in order to render the building defenceless. Enough of the fortification remains to provide the visitor with a good impression of what it was like to live in a medieval castle. It was an age when belief in a darker side of nature had a firm grip on the human imagination, and it was well known that harmful spirits roamed the night, intent on inflicting injury on any humans that chanced to cross their evil path. Built into the thickness of the second floor wall is a mural gallery which leads the intrepid visitor to the garderobe or lavatory, which stands over a chute known as Mole the Fuca's Hole. Fucas were the most feared of all the creatures that prowled the night. They were strange and evil beings with male heads and the body of a goat, horse, or dog. They could fly short distances, although they had no wings. They could fly short distances, although they had no wings, were extremely ugly and ill-tempered, and generally to be avoided at all costs. What we call reform voters these days. They ran in packs, and their sole desire was to inflict harm. That's what we call reform voters these days. Upon defenseless humans, causing crops to fail, children to die suddenly, or worst of all, to steal newborn babies. Irish peasants would ascribe accidental falls to the malign influence of a Fuca. Ruined or wrecked castles were associated with them, the foul-smelling chute of a garderobe being the ideal portal by which these dreaded creatures could gain access and wreak their devilish mayhem upon the inhabitants. Is that wreck or wreak? Wreak their devilish mayhem upon the inhabitants. So we do have some photographs here. So this is a single wall of what was once the seat of a proud clan is all that remains of Castle Donovan, where a shameful murder took place long ago. So there is Castle Donovan there at the top of the page. And then we have below the 4-story keep of Ballinaccarriga Castle is where to meet a Fuca, the most dreaded Irish spectre. Previous page, shattered Dunluce Castle enjoys a dramatic situation and unthreatening presences. Right, so that is Ballinaccarriga, just there. Oh, let's get it in there. Ballinaccarriga Castle. And no, we're pretty much done with that page. Oh. Sorry, I'm getting myself sorted out here. Problem is, this is quite a big book, so it's not easy to kind of like hold it. Sorry, I got some fan mail here. I'm just responding to the fan mail. I know it's very rude of me to be arsing around with my phone when I'm supposed to be doing a ghost story show, but the perils of social media these days. Let's have another beer and a bump, shall we? Cheers, me beers. Oh, that's smooth. That is very, very smooth. Anyway, Slange. That is equally smooth. Let's have a look. 4 Ballygnee near Gort, County Galway. Yeats haunted home. Yates haunted home. I declare this tower is my symbol. I declare this winding, gyring, spiring treadmill of a stair is my ancestral stair. From Blood and the Moon by Bob W.B. Yeats. Once known as Islandmoor Castle, this evocative and atmospheric stone tower with its narrow and time-worn stairs was a virtual ruin when the poet W.B. Yeats, 1865 to 1939, purchased it in 1917 for the nominal sum of £35. Yeats renamed the building Thor, being the Irish for tower, that's Thorr. Renamed the building Thor, being the Irish for tower, Ballylee, commenting that, I think the harsh sound of Thor ascends the softness of the rest. Following considerable restoration, the building was finally habitable in 1919 when it became his summer residence and thereafter a central symbol of his poetry. Yeats was a devotee of the occult, once observing that the mystical life is the center of all that I do and all that I think and all that I write. He believed implicitly in the existence of ghosts and was convinced that the tower was haunted by an Anglo-Norman soldier. A later curator was also convinced that a spectral form wandered the worn stairway of the tower and was reluctant to ascend it as the day turned into night. Her suspicions were evidently shared by her pet dog, who would frequently appear terrified of something it could apparently see in the downstairs rooms. I'm going to have to check. Am I getting W.B. Yeats' accent right? He's Irish, for goodness sake. Of course he's Irish. All right, let's try that again. I declare this tower as a symbol. I declare this winding, gyring, spiring treadmill of a stair is my ancestral stair. From Blood and the Moon by W.B. Yeats. And commenting that I think the harsh sound of Thor amends the softness of the rest. And again, the mystical life is the center of all that I do and all that I think and all that I write. Ballylee, shame it wasn't Geddy but there we go. One summer's afternoon in 1989, an English family touring County Galway arrived at the tower as it was closing. As they wished to photograph Yeats' sitting room, the curator obligingly reopened the window shutters so that a picture could be taken. The husband, David Blinkthorne, stayed alone in the room to take several photographs, while his family went off to explore the rest of the building. When the film was developed, Mr. Blinkthorne was astonished to see on one of the prints the ghostly silhouette of what appeared to be a young boy standing in front of the camera. No one else had been in the room when the photograph was taken, and none of the other prints showed the strange and inexplicable apparition. The ghostly boy's identity still remains a mystery, although some have suggested that it may have been Yeats' own son. Incroyable. The stern tower of Thor Ballylee, in its tranquil setting, was once owned by the Irish poet W.B. Yeats, and some believe it is haunted by his son. W.B. Yeats had a taste for the occult and was certain that Thor Ballylee was haunted by a soldier. So there we go, Thor Ballylee, and there is W.B. Yeats and friend. This is not an easy book to have to kind of like hump around like this, but it's got to be done because it's St. Patrick's Day. Let's have another Guinness, shall we? Cheers, me beers. Oh, lovely. Slange. I think we'll have a bit more of the old Ballycastle. Oh, got some fan mails turned up. Let's read the fan mail. That's from fan Tim. Right, here we go. Leap Castle near Burr, County Offaly, the most haunted castle in Ireland. In May 2002, which still feels like the recent past, 24 years ago, Sean Ryan, a world-class musician and owner of Leap Castle, along with his wife, Anna, found a ghostly old man sitting in a chair by a downstairs fireplace. Having bade his phantom guest good day, Sean continued about his business. After all, a new ghost dropping by unannounced is just part of life's rich tapestry when you happen to live in what has long been considered Ireland's most haunted castle. Standing upon a vast throne of solid rock, Leap Castle was once the stronghold of the warlike O'Carrolls, and its eventful history is mostly written in their blood. In the 16th century, O'Carroll of the Leap was a lavish banquet at his family. Read that again. In the 16th century, O'Carroll of the Leap held a lavish banquet at his family fortress and invited a rural branch of his own sept, Irish clan, to partake of his hospitality. No sooner had the unfortunate guests sat down to dinner than he massacred every one of them. Inter-clan bloodshed was a common occurrence, and members of the tribe attended family get-togethers or reunions at their peril. Following the death of Mulrooney O'Carroll in 1532, a bitter dispute over succession arose. As siblings battled each other for leadership of the clan, one-eyed Teague O'Carroll is said to have slain his own brother, who was also a priest, as he celebrated Mass in the Bloody Chapel. However, the days of O'Carroll occupancy were drawing to a close, and they were about to lose possession in a suitably bloodthirsty manner. A 17th century daughter of the clan fell in love with an English soldier named Captain Darby, who was held prisoner in the castle dungeons. She smuggled food to him and eventually engineered his escape. As they were making their way down the staircase, her brother suddenly confronted them, and the captain silenced him with a single sword thrust. As his lover then became the heiress to Leap Castle, As his lover then became the heiress to Leap Castle, it passed into the ownership of the captain's family when the two were married. The last of his descendants to own Leap Castle was Jonathan Charles Darby, who arrived on the 16th of July, 1880. In 1909, his wife, Mildred, wrote an article for the Occult Review, describing how she had held several seances at the castle during which she had attracted the unwelcome attentions of an elemental, a primitive and malevolent force that attaches itself to a particular place. Mildred Darby described how she was standing in the gallery looking down at the main floor when I felt somebody put a hand on my shoulder. The thing was the size of a sheep, thin, gaunt, and shadowy. Its eyes, which seemed half decomposed in black cavities, stared into mine. The horrible smell gave me a deadly nausea. It was the smell of a decomposing corpse. Mildred's occult dabbling also appears to have awoken other malevolent forces within the walls of Leap Castle, and it was at this time that its fearsome reputation became firmly established. Following the castle's destruction by fire in 1922, workmen who had commenced gutting the interior discovered an oubliette, a small dungeon whose name, derived from the French oublier, meaning forget, says it all. An oubliette, a small dungeon whose name, derived from the French oublier, meaning forget, says it all, behind a wall of the bloody chapel. This sinister little room was crammed with the mortal remains of the unfortunate victims of Leap Castle's bloody and brutal past, and 3 cartloads of human bones were eventually cleared away from this ghastly charnel house. Over the next 70 years, Leap remained an empty shell, its fearsome reputation ensuring that the locals shunned it, particularly at night when all manner of ghostly activity was known to stir within its moss-clad walls. From across the fields, people would watch the window of the bloody chapel suddenly light up as though hundreds of flickering candles were blazing within. Some who dared walk among the ruins experienced alarming encounters with a lustrous lady wearing a billowing red gown. In 1972, the castle was purchased by an Australian of Irish descent, who sold it to Sean and Anne Ryan in 1991. And Sean set about converting the ruin into a habitable family home. Shortly afterwards, restoration was suddenly halted when the ladder he was working on. Shortly afterwards, restoration was suddenly halted when the ladder he was working from was inexplicably pushed away from the wall, forcing him to jump down several stories and sustain a fractured knee. No sooner had he resumed work than another freak accident caused him to break an ankle. We began to think that we weren't welcome here, Anne Ryan stoically observed. Today, though, the spirits have come to accept the present-day inhabitants of the castle and appear content to exist alongside Sean and Anne. They may make nuisances of themselves occasionally, but on the whole, they are no longer malevolent. The sound of traditional music now wafts beneath the rafters as Sean entertains guests and visitors both on tours and at storytelling nights. And should a stray sprite or forlorn phantom choose to make an appearance, they are more than welcome to pull up a chair and enjoy the atmosphere of the place that they have helped imbue with the reputation of being Ireland's most haunted castle. That was a cracker, that. I don't know why I've never read this book before. I must have been saving it for a good reason. Can't think what that reason is. Oh my goodness me. There's quite a lot in this Irish section, so cheers me beers. Oh, lovely. Slange. What are we up to? Oh, we're at half time. Goodness me, I was so engrossed in the ghost stories that I hadn't noticed it was half time. And I also hadn't noticed that we've got the wrong font for tonight's show. That's better. Right, half time. What to report on? We've got snacks. Of course, we've got snacks. We invested in some more of the wasabi mix, and that's because I was having shenanigans today with friend Faye. So we went on a shopping expedition while she was getting her car fixed. Oh, these are absolutely brilliant, these are. Delicious. So, adventures today. Like I say, it was a shopping trip with friend Faye, and see if I can get these in sequence. Now, so no, actually, I haven't got them in sequence. I'm gonna ping them another way. Bear with, folks. I've just got to sort these, get these in sequence. Messenger, let's send them to me. There we go. Right, that's better. That's much more logical. So myself and friend Faye today, it was a shopping trip. Now, this is the thing, is that Faye likes shopping, and so do I. I'm one of those rare blokes who actually does enjoy a good shopping trip. So there you go. There is a friendship forged in shopping, quite frankly. So we kicked off at Aldi, which is where I got some. Which is where I got this Castle, Bally Castle, I think it's called. Yeah. Let's just have another wasabi snack. No, that's not it. Then we had custard tarts in my car. Very nice. Then whilst we were still waiting, because she was having her car, having a new getting the roof on her car repaired. She's got a Mercedes soft top. So we went to Home Bargains, B&M rather. Then we had a nice cup of tea in a cafe called God, I've forgotten what the name of the blessed cafe is now. This is typical of me. Oh, goodness me. I'm going to have to look it up. As soon as I see it, it's going to be obvious. Let's just do Clevedon. Town centre. Jenny's, of course it's Jenny's. So we had a cup of tea. She had a latte in Jenny's. Then we went to B&M and did some more shopping. Spent a fortune today, but what the hell. It was all stuff that I needed. Then we did Lidl. Then, while we were waiting for her garage to call her, we drove to Clevedon Seafront, where, there we go, the magnificent pier, of which I'm a life member. And, oh no, that's us eating our custard tarts. And there's me mugging it in front of the pier. And we were just parked up on the seafront, enjoying the sun. And, yeah, so there we are, parked up on the seafront, enjoying the sun. And then finally, she got the message to say that her car was ready. And we went down and she picked up her car and we offloaded all her shopping. So, frankly, a top dollar day out. I do love my shopping. So I know it probably makes me an odd man out, but let's have some wasabi mix. And then tomorrow is a 2-reg walk, which is brilliant. And the weather forecast tomorrow looks like it's going to be absolutely brilliant. So oh, my friend Judith just messaged me. So, oh, I'm going to have a rice cake as well. What the hell? Well, I've had a custard tart all day. Delicious. In case you're wondering where his derpiness is, he's in the bedroom, asleep on the cabinet. Oh my goodness me, these ones are actually quite long. Actually, they're not, they're nice and short, but let's crack on, shall we? Right. Kinnety Castle. Kinnety, County Offaly. The haunt of the monastic soothsayer. Nestling amid the foothills of the Slieve Bloom Mountains, the Gothic revival Kinnety Castle has had a long and turbulent history. The first stronghold built on the site was destroyed in 1209 and rebuilt by the Normans in 1213. In time, it came into the possession of the powerful O'Carrolls of Ely. In 1630, one of their line, William O'Carroll, built a new fortress, which was confiscated by the English. In 1664, the estate was granted to Colonel Thomas Winter as a reward for his military service, and almost 200 years later, his descendants sold it to the Bernard family. In 1811, Lady Catherine Hutchinson, wife of Thomas Bernard, commissioned the present castle. Although the building was burnt by the Republicans in 1922, it was restored and has since been transformed into the magnificent, extremely cozy hotel, whose dark, atmospheric corridors, elegant rooms, library bar resplendent with rows of antique books, and sweeping stairways provide visitors with a tranquil haven from the cares of the modern world. Still in existence in the extensive grounds are the remains of an Augustinian abbey and an ancient Celtic high cross carved with depictions of Adam and Eve intertwined birds. Carved with depictions of Adam and Eve and intertwined birds, together with Christ's presentation in the temple and the crucifixion. It would also appear that one of the long dead monks from the old foundation, is he called Harry? Let's find out, finds the ambience of the castle more than congenial and chooses to wander the dark recesses of the banqueting room. From here, he delights in revealing future events linked with the everyday business of the hotel to one particular member of staff who often astonishes the owner with the accuracy of the prophecies. That's the end of that one. think we'll have the rest of my rice cake. Cheers, me beard. Strange. Right. We are now on to Charleville Forest Castle near Tullamore, County Offaly. Ireland's scariest castle? A sense of genuine antiquity prevails over the sylvan landscape that cradles Ireland's most enigmatic and impressive Gothic revival castle. Charleville is approached via a long and pitted drive that meanders through sinister tunnels of massive oaks whose crooked shadows dance before you, their writhing forms beckoning you onwards. As your nebulous escorts fall away, you are confronted by an awesome vision of breathtaking splendor. Oh, that's very kind of it. Oh, no, all right, okay. As unyielding walls, punctured by mullioned windows and crowned by towering turrets, loom gracefully over you. Charleville Forest Castle was built between 1798 and 1812 by Charles William Berry, 1764 to 1835, the first Earl of Charleville, and was designed by Francis Johnston. It is a proud testimony to the designer's vision and the sheer extravagance, unhindered by the constraints of their purse strings, with which successive generations of the Charleville family have enthusiastically embraced life. Every so often, the pressure of living beyond their means would necessitate the temporary closure of the castle. Subsequent reopenings, though, would often be marked by a suitably flamboyant gesture, such as engaging the talents of arts and crafts movement supremo William Morris, much of whose exquisite dining room ceiling work amazingly still survives. The family's inability to curb their excesses eventually resulted in periods of occupancy becoming more intermittent until, by the early 1960s, Charleville had been all but abandoned. It is now owned by Bridget Vance, a charismatic American who is slowly rousing the castle from its slumber. With the aid of local craftsmen, she is restoring its echoing rooms to their past grandeur. As her family go about their tasks, the spirits of bygone residents have begun to stir, and an abundance of ghosts now wander through what was recently dubbed Ireland's spookiest castle. The silence of the early hours is sometimes shattered by the playful whoops of children enjoying a phantom game in what was once the nursery. Sorry, I'm just looking at the photograph here of. But anyway, it may be the same children who were once responsible for locking Bridget's daughter, Kate, in a dark cupboard in their playroom. Older revenants appear to have been to blame for disturbing Richard Hayes, who, following a party at the castle, placed his bedroll on the floor and settled down to sleep. Next morning, the children asked why he had slept with the door open and the lights on. He revealed that just as he was nodding off, two elderly Englishmen, who, from the style of their speech, were evidently of another era, had struck up an animated conversation, interspersed with the downing of copious amounts of alcohol. Although he could hear them close by, he could not see them. Talking of copious amounts of alcohol, oh, it's those blessed rice cakes. I too experienced an inexplicable incident when I visited the castle. I was talking with Kate, who asked me if I had ever seen a ghost. As I began to answer, the huge chandelier above our heads suddenly switched on, and at the same moment, a radio in the room next door, which was definitely empty at the time, began blaring out classical music. The wraiths of both Charles William Bury and Francis Johnston have also been seen here. One morning at around 3 a.m., Bridget Vance's late mother, Connie, awoke to find them leading a ghostly cavalcade across her bedroom in the tower. It consisted of a woman in a black hood, excuse me, a little girl, and a group of around 17 monks or druids who encircled her bed and appeared to bestow a blessing upon her. Need another drink. Oh, it's better. The most poignant of all the spectres that walk this most haunting and atmospheric of castles is that of a little girl in a blue chiffon dress. Her shimmering shade has been seen many times on the great winding staircase, the faded walls and creaking boards of which are imbued with a decidedly chilling aura. Her name in life was Harriet, and one day she was sent upstairs to wash her hands. Having done so, she was playfully sliding down the balustrade when she lost her balance and plunged to her death on the floor below. Many people walking down the staircase where the tragedy occurred have felt the cold draught of her invisible presence as she brushes past them, while others have seen her phantom form skipping playfully in front of them. The ghost of a small boy occasionally joins her. Once, when Bridget's son was around 3 years old, he went missing. Fearful of the steep stairs and precarious drops around the property, the family began an anxious search. They eventually found him at the bottom of a stairwell, where he told how the little boy and girl had looked after him as he came down the stairs. Charleville Forest Castle is a welcoming place. The abundance of ghosts that roam its corridors are, on the whole, friendly, and you leave the castle with a sense of sheer wonder. But as you make your way back along the driveway, you come upon an ancient reminder of the castle's more sinister past. Towering over you, its lower branches almost touching the road, is the prodigious King Oak, the massive girth of which testifies to its venerable age. Yet its majestic splendor is tinged with a fearsome reputation, for it was always maintained that whenever one of its branches fell, a member of the Charleville family would die. In May 1963, a huge bolt of lightning smashed into it and shattered its trunk from top to bottom. Although the oak survived, relief was muted when, 2 weeks later, Colonel Charles Howard Bury, head of the family and the last of the line to own the castle, suddenly dropped dead. Incroyable. Oh, can we show a picture? Oh yeah, here we go. What have we got here? Opposite, Gothic in style and atmosphere, Kinnety Castle is graced with the ghost of a prophetic monk. So there's Kinnety Castle there. You all see that? Jolly good. And then we have Charleville Forest Castle. So those who climb the grand staircase at Charleville Forest Castle may feel an unnerving and chilly rush of air as a ghostly presence brushes by them rather. So there it is. There's Charleville stairs. Onto then we have above the solid stone tower. Oh no, that's the next one. That's the one we're just about to read. All right. Oops. I think we'll have a bit more of the wasabi mix, quite frankly. I was thinking, are we going to do it? Is it going to be a two beerer tonight? It is going to be a two beerer. So slide. So tonight's other beer is Memento Nitro Modern Best Bitter by Siren Craft Brew. It says Memento Nitro Modern Best Bitter, a wholesome best bitter designed to be true to this iconic beer style, with only a few respectful tweaks. Expect biscuit and caramel flavors from our malts, balanced by grassy berry and citrus hop notes, with refreshing bitterness. 3.8%. So pour hard and fast for the full cascade effect. Okay. Oops, Daisy. Pour hard and fast to the full cascade effect. Right, here we go. That's exactly what we're doing. But you can see this. Well, you can do, because I'm going to bring the glass round. So there we go. I don't know if that's the cascade effect, but for the second time tonight, and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Oh, the beer burps at 54 minutes. Good Lord. We need some more wasabi mix, quite frankly. Okay. I was just reading the biography of the author. Fulksgrath Castle near Kilkenny, County Kilkenny. The ghost on the stairs. Named after Folco de la Fren, the 13th century founder of the settlement and builder of the first castle on the site. Fulksgrath Castle basks in peaceful seclusion amid serenely beautiful countryside. It is a solid stone building of atmospheric rooms that now function as a delightful hostel operated by the Irish youth organisation Anoig. Although Folco de la Fren was killed in a neighbourhood skirmish in 1349 and his castle replaced with the present fortress in the 16th century, his actions have apparently left behind a psychic imprint that has imbued the shadowy recesses of one of the upper rooms with a spectre of regular habit. On the 29th of November each year, the silence of the early morning is broken by the sound of footsteps echoing from the darkness. A door is heard to open and then close, as an invisible revenant makes its annual return to the place where its living self met with a violent death at the hands of the castle's founder. Tradition holds that this mysterious visitor is the ghost of a sentry who fell asleep one night while on guard duty. Unfortunately for him, Folco de la Fren, a man not known for his pacifist pursuits, chose to undertake a tour of inspection at that moment. stumbling upon the slumbering form, he was furious at such a blatant dereliction of duty. Grabbing hold of the sleeping soldier, he pitched the poor man to his death from the top of the building. Henceforth, the soldier's ghost has made an annual pilgrimage to the site of his ignoble end. Elsewhere, the winding stairway that delivers the visitor to the upper reaches of the building is the haunt of a ghostly, though invisible, lady. She is said to have been a daughter of the castle, who once fell in love with a lowly soldier and was forbidden to see him again by her irate father. In a tantrum, she raced screaming down the stairs, but tripped over her skirts and tumbled headlong to the bottom, broke her neck. But her unseen ghost is said to wander up and down the old stairs, where she announces her presence with the sweet fragrance of wild flowers, a sudden drop in temperature, and the gentle flapping of her skirts upon the stones as she prepares to undergo a fatal fall time and time again. So I just get the bookmarks in place. What are you up to? 58 minutes. Right. So let's try this. I can't find where the blessed can's gone now. Oh, here it is. Memento Nitro Modern Best Bitter by the Siren Craft Brewery, and they are based in brewed and canned at Siren Craft Brewery Limited, Finch Hampstead. Oh my goodness me! We lived in Finch Hampstead for a year before we moved here. It was a grim place. Incroyable, vegan friendly apparently, but yeah, Finch Hampstead. It's a place. We moved away from Finch Hampstead, checks notes 50 years ago this year. I keep thinking to myself, I must go back there. Just morbid curiosity, if anything. I'm gonna have a think about that. Anyway, cheers me beers. What did it say it had? Expect big biscuit and caramel flavors. Not quite yet, but I'm sure it will come to me. Oh no, it's time for some more of the Bally Castle. Oh, let's do the fan mail. Oh, 2112. That's the top. Look at that. Isn't that ironic? You can't see it, can you? No, lost it. No, 2113 now. There I am having a glass of beer from the Rush beer glass, and it's 2112. That's not how you spell stories, JM. Oh, we will have a bit more of the Bally Castle, and we have just bumped through the hour mark. So we are going to wrap up tonight this element of the St. Patrick's Day ghost stories, but we'll carry on. We've still got half a glass of beer to drink there. So Huntingdon Castle, Clonegall, County Carlow, the Phantom Bishop and the Waiting Wife. Huntingdon Castle, as it stands today is a Jacobean gesture in architecture. It was built in 1625, which is almost 4:30, by the first Lord Esmond, and replaced an earlier stronghold that had been built in the 15th century on the site of an adjacent monastery. Approached via a long avenue of majestic limes, it casts a long finger of shadow across its surroundings and possesses a spellbinding quality. Its interior of dark, creaking corridors and atmospheric rooms crammed with an eclectic mix of tapestries, suits of armor, dusty old books, stuffed animals, and family portraits has a decided otherworldly feel. It comes as little surprise, therefore, to learn that this truly mysterious castle, which for over 200 years has been home to the Durden Robertson family, is haunted. Outside is the 600-year-old yew walk, one of the few survivors from the days of the monastery. Its entwined branches form a long and mysterious tunnel that could so easily be a gateway into another time. On several occasions, monks, any of them called Harry, let's find out, monks managed to transcend the centuries, and their ghostly forms are seen walking up and down beneath the interlocking canopy. Elsewhere in the gardens, the restless wraith of Ailish O'Flaherty, the first wife of Lord Esmond, is sometimes seen standing by the spy bush, combing her long hair by moonlight and wailing in grief-stricken anguish. Her husband and son went off to fight. Her husband and son went off to the wars, and here she would stand anxiously awaiting their return. A spectral soldier has been known to knock on the castle door. He is thought to have lived in the 17th century when Cromwell's forces were riding roughshod over the lands. Having disguised himself in the uniform of the royalist opposition, the soldier set off to gather information about the enemy. On his return, his comrades failed to recognize him. There should be a 2 here. His comrades failed to recognize him and shot him dead. Although the grill of the door where his ghostly face... On his return, his comrades failed to recognize him and shot him dead through the grill of the door, where his ghostly face is now sometimes seen. Crossing the threshold, a portrait of Barbara St. Ledge, 1748 to 1820, hangs on one of the walls inside. She married into the family and was apparently so taken with Huntingdon Castle that her spirit still walks the corridors, jangling her keys. She is closely followed by her maidservant, Honor Byrne, who pauses to polish door handles with her hair. Bishop Leslie of Limerick, who stayed at the castle when he retired in the 18th century, haunts the 4-poster room. Several guests have woken in the dead of night to find his genial phantom standing at the foot of the bed. A portrait of a Spanish flower girl gazes from the wall of the room, and from time to time, the bishop's face has been known to replace hers. Huntingdon Castle is a magical and timeless place that possesses a unique atmosphere. It is a tranquil time capsule that is truly one of Ireland's most historical and fascinating treasures. So, just having a quick look here. What have we got here? Right, so that's got to be Huntingdon Castle there, and that's got to be the lady from the other story. Oh, here we have the solid stone tower of Fulksgrath Castle, now houses a youth hostel and a pair of ghosts who were the result of a brutal act and a teenage tantrum. So there's that one there, and there's your lady, and there's, oops, get your fingers out of the way. And I do believe that was the one we've just read, Huntingdon Castle. Right, we are going to have to wrap this up at some stage because I's gur hungry. I have been working solidly since before 7 o'clock this morning. So, wasabi mix time. Cheers, me beers. And in the magnificent United Federation of Planet Shot Glass, again from viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States, who are responsible for the magnificent Rush beer glass as well. Cheers, me beers. Oh. Malahide Castle, Malahide, County Dublin. Puck, the Phantom Sentry. Malahide is a stunningly picturesque fortress that stands amid a profusion of massive oaks, mighty chestnuts, and towering sycamores. 14.5 kilometres, 9 miles, to the north of Dublin. And here we are. There is a picture of it there, by the way. Oh, the beer burps again. Richard Talbot, who had been awarded the lordship of Malahide by Henry II, built the first castle on the site in about 1185. Thereafter, despite regular sieges and constant warring aimed at displacing them, his descendants clung to possession for 971 years, apart from a 10-year eviction during the Cromwellian era. In 1975, the Honourable Rose Talbot was forced to sell her ancestral home to pay the exorbitant death duties occasioned by the sudden demise of her brother Milo, the last Lord Talbot de Malahide, in 1973. Purchased by the local authority, the castle was open to the public. Visitors can now experience its majestic ambience and wander along the ancient corridors and winding stairways that lead to atmospheric old rooms resplendent with period furnishings, family portraits, and intriguing artifacts. Having ascended the stone stairway from the reception area, you step into the oak room, which sits at the heart of the medieval castle. Above the fireplace is a 16th century Flemish carving depicting the coronation of the Virgin. One of the castle's most abiding legends centers upon this exquisite work. In August 1649, which is about 11 minutes to 5, Oliver Cromwell invaded Ireland with a force of some 12,000 soldiers. The then owner of Malahide, John Talbot, was evicted, and Cromwell gave the fortress to loyal supporter Miles Corbett. Tradition asserts that the moment that Corbett took possession, the carving mysteriously disappeared and was not seen for 10 years, until, following the restoration of Charles II in 1660 and the subsequent execution of Corbett, the castle was restored to the Talbots, whereupon the carving reappeared upon the wall. The Great Hall of the castle is one of the most important medieval rooms in Ireland and has remained virtually unaltered since its construction in 1475. On the 30th of June 1690, 4 members of the family took breakfast here before setting off the following day to fight at the Battle of the Boyne at which every one of them was killed. To the right of the minstrel's gallery in the hall, there is a tiny doorway around which the castle's most famous and irrepressible spectre. There you go. To the right of the minstrel's gallery in the hall, there is a tiny doorway around which the castle's most famous and irrepressible spectral inhabitant has been known to manifest itself. Known as Puck to generations of residents, he stands just 1.2 meters, 4 feet tall, and is blessed with a long, straggly beard. No one knows for certain who he was, but there is a tradition that he lived in the 15th century. Because of his slight stature, he was deemed unsuitable as a fighting man, so was employed instead as a watchman. Unfortunately, he was partial to the odd tipple, and one night, having imbibed a little too liberally, fell asleep at his post and failed to spot that an enemy was about to storm the castle. Shamed by his neglect of duty, the remorseful sentry hanged himself from the minstrel's gallery. His spirit has remained here ever since and appears whenever there are changes of which he disapproves. The last sighting was in 1976 when the castle's fixtures and fittings were to be sold. A London auctioneer was compiling an inventory when he looked up from his work and saw the unmistakable figure of Puck standing by the tiny doorway, shaking his head in censure. I think that's Puck. What the Puck? There he is. I think this is gonna be the last one for tonight. Yeah, I think it is. Cheers, me beers. Sludge. Right, last one for tonight. Castle Leslie, Glasgow, County Monaghan. The Haunted Red Room. And here we have above, Paul and Heather McCartney were married at Castle Leslie, but whether they saw the ghost of World War I soldier Norman Leslie is not known. So there it is, the Red Room. Sorry, something got a bit Peter Gabriel there. Red Room is raining down. Right. Castle Leslie, Glasgow, County Monaghan, the Haunted Red Room. When Paul McCartney and Heather Mills chose Castle Leslie as the venue for their wedding on the 11th of June 2002, they were following an illustrious cast of bygone guests that have included Dean Swift, W.B. Yeats, Sir John Betjeman, and fellow rocker Mick Jagger. It was Sir John Leslie who was responsible for rebuilding the old castle in 1878, largely at the insistence of his pretty young wife, Constance. As Sir John grew older, his wife came to detest the sight of him and designed a huge floor arrangement that could hide him from her view at the dinner table. The couple moved to London in 1910, and following her death there in 1925, Lady Constance's ghost was seen walking round the castle by the servants and has been seen several times since. It is the Red Room, however, whose four-poster bed has been described as a doorway in and out of this life, born in and died in, that is the castle's most haunted room. It was here that Lady Marjorie Leslie saw the ghost of her son, Norman, who had been killed in action during World War I. Marjorie awoke one night to find Norman's ghost standing by the chest of drawers, surrounded by a cloud of light, leafing through some letters, apparently seeking one in particular. Sitting up, she asked him,
Why, Norman, what are you doing here? He turned, smiled, and faded slowly away. Since then, several guests spending the night in that room have seen his ghost rummaging through the chest of drawers. Do you know what? We will pick up on that book again. That's good to know. We've got a brilliant book on standby. I'm just going to have another, what's the date today? 17th. Have we had the 16th from our Ramadan calendar? No, we haven't. So what's this one? Oh, it's a camel. And that one's a tower or a bell. Cheers, me beard. Goodness me, that's it for tonight. Cheers. Oh, I dread to think how many calories are in that Bally castle, but do you know what? It's Bally nice. That's it for tonight. This was our impromptu St. Patrick's Day ghost stories, and where we've been reading ghost stories from Ireland. Perhaps we'll save that one for next St. Patrick's Day. I think we should actually. But hopefully tomorrow night, fingers crossed, we'll be back reading Haunted Places of Scotland, which I'm massively enjoying at the moment. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I need to go and have some food and watch some Family Guy and decompress slightly. Fingers crossed, we'll be back tomorrow night for Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra on a Wednesday. Until then, you know the drill. Thank you for watching. Why? Why not? What else are you going to do on St. Patrick's Day night than watch a confused Manfred Dudley drink ghost stories and read alcohol? So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night for Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra. Until then, as always, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why not? Stay safe, stay out of trouble, please don't have nightmares. Good night.